What happens when someone with great wealth doesn't hoard it, but chooses to share it? When they use their fortune, not for personal gain, but to heal the wounds of a forgotten community? What could one person's compassion possibly do in a world that often seems indifferent to the struggles of others? In the case of one extraordinary millionaire, the answer is simple: everything. This isn't a story about charity, though. This is a story about kindness, community, and the unbreakable power of people helping each other. It's about how one person, driven by a deep sense of empathy, can take something broken and rebuild it, not just with money, but with love, intention, and the will to make the world a better place. Imagine a place once filled with neglect, crumbling walls, broken windows, and children whose futures seemed as uncertain as the roof over their heads. This is the story of an orphanage, a place meant to provide care, but one that was, for years, falling apart at the seams. Yet, all of that changed because of one decision. One individual saw what others overlooked, and instead of turning away, they chose to act. This millionaire had built their fortune from the ground up, but it wasn't their wealth that drove them. It was a deep understanding that true success isn't measured in bank accounts. It's measured in the lives you touch, the people you help, and the difference you make. And for this millionaire, the difference they sought to make began with a rundown orphanage and a group of children who deserved better. In today's story, we will follow the incredible transformation of that orphanage, from a place of despair to a place of hope. But this transformation wasn't about a lavish renovation or the simple act of writing a check. It was about creating a sanctuary, a home where children could thrive, dream, and feel safe. It was about restoring the dignity and the futures of those who had been left behind. The millionaire's heart and determination became the catalyst for a change that went far beyond bricks and mortar. This is a tale of how the generosity of one person can bring a community together. It's about the power of kindness, the impact of shared humanity, and how the simplest acts of goodness can inspire transformation on a scale beyond our imagination. Stay with us as we witness a truly beautiful journey. The restoration of not just a building, but of hope, love, and new beginnings. Picture, if you will, a place meant to be a refuge for children, a place of safety, warmth, and care. Instead, what we find is an orphanage, abandoned by time, and left to the mercy of neglect. The building itself stands as a silent testament to years of decay, its once sturdy walls now crumbling with age. The paint, which once may have been vibrant, is now peeling away, exposing the bare bones of the structure beneath. The windows are broken, some completely shattered, leaving cold drafts to creep through the cracks. The floorboards, worn and splintered, creak underfoot, a constant reminder that this place has been forgotten, left to deteriorate in silence. The roof, too, shows signs of neglect, leaking in places, allowing rain to drip down in sporadic patterns, staining the walls with dark streaks. The ceilings sag, weighed down by years of wear and tear, while the air smells musty, a mixture of old wood, dampness, and the faintest hint of mildew. The once bright and cheerful spaces meant for play, learning, and rest are now little more than empty, desolate rooms filled with shadows. Inside, the orphanage is even more heartbreaking. The children who live here, often forgotten by society, find themselves living in a place that is barely a home. The floors are cold, bare, and unforgiving, with little more than a thin rug here or there to break the monotony. The furniture, if it can even be called that, is old, battered, and uncomfortable. The mattresses are thin, offering little in the way of comfort for the young bodies that fall asleep each night, wondering what tomorrow will bring. The walls, once adorned with bright, colorful murals, are now faded and chipped, their cheerful scenes lost to time. There are no toys scattered about, no books to read, no soft cushions to curl up on. The children, many of them with eyes that have seen more hardship than any child should, spend most of their time in silence. Playtime, once a symbol of childhood joy, is now a rare luxury, replaced by the dull rhythm of daily survival. They've learned to make do, to exist, but not to thrive. In this environment, there is a palpable sense of despair. These children aren't just facing the absence of material things. They're facing the emotional toll of being constantly reminded of their worthlessness. They are left with little more than each other to lean on, their hopes as fragile as the walls around them. And it's not just the children who are suffering. The staff, though kind and dedicated, are overwhelmed. They are stretched thin, doing everything they can to provide for the children, but the resources simply aren't there. The orphanage's funding is minimal, barely enough to cover basic necessities, let alone the improvements needed to create a safe, nurturing environment. The staff is faced with impossible choices every day. There's not enough food for everyone, so they ration out what little they have. Medical supplies are in short supply, and regular visits from doctors or specialists are few and far between. The children's emotional needs are just as pressing, yet the caregivers have no real training or support to address the trauma many of them have experienced. Despite their best efforts, the staff are often forced to work in conditions that leave them emotionally drained. They can only offer so much in the face of such overwhelming need. The emotional toll on both the children and the staff is impossible to ignore. The children feel the weight of their circumstances in their bones. They know they're not like other kids. They see the way other children are cared for, how their friends get to go home to families who love them. And so, with every passing day, the hope that they might one day be adopted slowly fades. Their dreams of a better life seem more distant with each new hardship they face. The weight of abandonment settles heavily in their hearts, leaving them to question if anyone will ever truly care for them. And for the staff, it's heartbreaking to watch. They pour everything they have into caring for these children, heart, soul, and energy. But in a place so neglected, their efforts are often swallowed up by the vastness of need. They're doing their best, but it doesn't feel like enough. The children's smiles are few and far between, and there's a sense that no matter how much love is offered, it can't fill the emptiness that has been created by years of hardship. For years, this orphanage had become a place of survival, not of living. It was a place where the bare minimum was provided, where the children's needs were met only just enough to get by. There was no vision of a better future, no hope of something more. And so, the cycle continued. The children grew up in a system that did not nurture their potential, but instead hardened them to the reality that the world had forgotten them. But sometimes, in the darkest of places, the smallest spark can ignite the most incredible change. And in this case, that spark came in the form of a millionaire with a heart full of compassion, a person who could see not just the brokenness, but the possibility for renewal. At the heart of every great change, there's a person who dares to dream beyond their own comforts, a person who looks at the world and sees not just what it is, but what it could become. And in this story, that person is a millionaire whose life, wealth, and legacy were about to take a turn in a direction few could have imagined. Meet Samuel Lawson, a name that may not be widely known, but whose actions would forever change the lives of many. Samuel wasn't born into wealth, nor was he handed a fortune on a silver platter. In fact, his beginnings were humble. He grew up in a small town, the son of hardworking parents who taught him the values of diligence, honesty, and compassion. His father was a carpenter, building houses with his hands, while his mother was a schoolteacher, imparting the importance of education to every child in their community. They didn't have much in terms of material wealth, but they had a richness of spirit that would leave a lasting impact on Samuel. As a child, Samuel spent much of his time volunteering at the local shelter, helping the elderly or tutoring children who were falling behind in their studies. His parents instilled in him a sense of duty to help those less fortunate, to lift up others in any way that he could. It wasn't about making money or finding success for himself, it was about giving back. The simple act of helping someone in need made Samuel feel a deep sense of purpose that no amount of personal achievement ever could. But as Samuel grew older, his path diverged from the simple life he knew. He had big dreams, dreams of building something that would make a difference. After graduating from college, he ventured into the world of business, starting small with a tech company he founded from the ground up. It wasn't easy. There were countless long hours, sleepless nights, and moments of doubt. But Samuel's determination paid off. His company grew rapidly, eventually becoming a multi-million-dollar enterprise. However, despite his newfound wealth, Samuel never lost sight of the values his parents had instilled in him. The more successful he became, the more he felt a strong calling to give back. He believed deeply that with great wealth came great responsibility. While many of his peers used their riches to indulge in lavish lifestyles, luxury cars, private jets, and extravagant parties, Samuel felt a void that no amount of money could fill. He couldn't shake the thought that something was missing from his life. It was during a trip to a developing country that the spark of change was ignited. Samuel was visiting a remote village where he had arranged to meet with local entrepreneurs and community leaders to discuss a potential investment in education and healthcare. It was there, in that small village, that he witnessed the stark contrast between his life and the lives of the people living in poverty. The children, whose faces were filled with hope despite their circumstances, tugged at his heart. He saw a young girl, no more than 7 years old, walking barefoot on a dirt road to school, a backpack that looked far too big for her small frame bouncing with each step. But what struck him most wasn't just the physical poverty. It was the emotional weight that hung over the entire community. He saw how the villagers helped each other, shared what little they had, and relied on one another for support. It was there that Samuel realized something profound. He had spent so much of his life chasing success, but in doing so, he had forgotten the importance of true connection and compassion. That experience stayed with him long after he returned home. It changed the way he viewed his wealth. It wasn't meant to be used to amass more for himself, to build bigger houses, or buy more material goods. It was meant to create a lasting impact, an impact that would not just benefit him, but the world around him. Samuel began to ask himself, what good is wealth if it's not used to improve the lives of others? What was the point of having more than enough, while so many had so little? Samuel's philosophy became clear. Generosity isn't about giving until it hurts. It's about giving because it feels right. True generosity, he believed, was about using whatever resources you have, whether it's time, money, or knowledge, to make a meaningful difference in the world. In Samuel's eyes, the greatest wealth lay in the ability to uplift others, to help people reach their potential, and to build communities that thrive together. It wasn't long before Samuel took action. He began setting aside a significant portion of his wealth to fund charitable causes. But rather than just donating to random organizations, he took a hands-on approach, focusing on projects that could make a tangible, lasting difference. He funded schools, medical clinics, and disaster relief efforts. But his heart truly lay in transforming institutions like orphanages, places that, despite their best efforts, often fell short due to a lack of resources. Samuel had visited several orphanages over the years, and while many were doing their best with what little they had, it was clear that they needed more. More funding, more support, more hope. He began researching orphanages that were struggling the most, looking for a place where his contribution could truly make a difference. He wasn't just interested in throwing money at the problem. He wanted to completely transform the lives of the children who called these orphanages home. And then, Samuel found it. The orphanage we spoke of earlier, one in desperate need of help. The more he learned about it, the more he felt compelled to act. He knew this was the moment he had been waiting for. This was where he could make the kind of difference that would leave a legacy of kindness. A legacy that would inspire others to follow in his footsteps. But Samuel wasn't just a philanthropist in the traditional sense. His approach was rooted in empathy, in seeing the potential in people and institutions that others might overlook. He didn't just want to fix the orphanage. He wanted to transform it into a place where children could not only survive but truly thrive. A place that would become a beacon of hope and community for all who entered its doors. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Samuel first learned about the orphanage. It wasn't through a grand gala or an international charity event. No, it was a much quieter moment. He had been speaking with an old friend, a fellow philanthropist, about his recent ventures. His friend had mentioned a place that struck Samuel's interest. An orphanage located in a neglected corner of the city, home to dozens of children abandoned by society, left to grow up in the shadows of indifference. The orphanage, with its peeling walls and broken windows, had been struggling for years, surviving on meager donations and the tireless efforts of a few overworked staff members. At first, Samuel tried to brush off the conversation, thinking that there were many causes that needed attention. He had always supported various organizations, schools, hospitals, research institutions. But the notion of an orphanage, so close to home, seemed both intimate and overwhelming. What could he, with his busy schedule and countless obligations, truly due to make a difference there. But that night, something about the conversation lingered with him. He couldn't stop thinking about the children. Samuel had grown up in a modest household, and while he had never been in an orphanage, he understood the weight of struggling to make ends meet. He had spent countless nights as a child hoping for a better life, for some small sign that things might improve. It was a feeling that he had long since buried under the weight of his success, but that night, it resurfaced with vivid clarity. He spent the next few days researching the orphanage. The stories were heartbreaking. Children living in overcrowded rooms, the staff barely able to keep up with the demands of looking after the kids, and the building itself on the verge of collapse. The conditions were deplorable, and there was no one to step in. Samuel couldn't help but feel the pang of responsibility tug at him. He had the resources, the ability, and the capacity to do something. But more than that, he had a deep moral drive, an understanding that if he didn't act, who else would? It was on a rainy Thursday afternoon, as he sat in his office overlooking the city, that the decision became clear. The weight of his past, the lessons he had learned about giving back, about the importance of community, pressed heavily on him. For the first time, he felt a surge of clarity. He couldn't just throw money at the problem and hope for the best. He had to be personally involved. He didn't just want to write a check or send a donation. Samuel wanted to be part of the solution. He knew that true change required more than just financial backing. It required a commitment of time, energy, and a willingness to invest not only in the physical transformation of the orphanage, but in the emotional and psychological well-being of the children living there. This wasn't about charity. This was about creating a home, a sanctuary, where these kids could find safety, warmth, and hope. A place that would give them the same opportunities he had been fortunate enough to experience. A place that would become a true haven. The decision wasn't a snap judgment. It wasn't made impulsively, or without deep reflection. Samuel thought of his own childhood, of his parents' struggles, and of the lessons they had instilled in him. To always give back, to never forget where you came from, and to be a source of light in the lives of others. The next morning, he made the call. He contacted the orphanage's director, a kind but overworked woman named Mrs. Harper. Their conversation was simple, yet powerful. He explained who he was and why he wanted to help, offering not just his financial support, but his time and expertise. Samuel made it clear that this wasn't going to be just another donation. It was a partnership. He wanted to work alongside the staff to make the orphanage a place of thriving opportunity, not just survival. Mrs. Harper was, naturally, taken aback. She had seen her fair share of donors come and go, each promising to make a difference, only to disappear once the money was spent. But Samuel's tone was different. There was sincerity, a true desire to see change. She agreed to meet, and soon, they were sitting together in the orphanage's worn-down conference room, discussing plans for the future. As Samuel walked through the orphanage for the first time, he was struck by the overwhelming sense of neglect that permeated every corner. The smell of mildew and dampness was inescapable. The walls, once painted with bright colors to welcome children, were now faded and cracked. The playground equipment was rusted, and the courtyard, once a place for laughter and play, was filled with dirt and overgrown weeds. But amidst the decay, Samuel noticed something else, a spark in the children's eyes. There was a resilience there, a quiet strength that had been born out of necessity. They had learned to survive in spite of their surroundings. The staff, too, had a palpable devotion to their work, though it was clear they were stretched thin, overwhelmed by the constant demands. There was no money for resources, and even the basic necessities were hard to come by. Yet, despite all of this, the children were still smiling. They still found ways to laugh, to play, and to dream. That's when Samuel made a vow to himself. He would not let them down. This wasn't just a project to him. It was personal. Every child deserved a chance at a better life, and he would be the one to help provide it. He would transform the orphanage, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. The children would no longer feel as though they were forgotten by the world. They would have a chance to truly thrive. But the work ahead was going to be immense. Samuel knew that it would take more than just money. It would take planning, vision, and a team of dedicated individuals. He needed to assemble experts, builders, educators, and mental health professionals. He needed to create a holistic plan that would address the physical needs of the orphanage, but also the emotional and psychological needs of the children who had been neglected for so long. It was at that moment that Samuel realized just how important his involvement would be. This wasn't about a quick fix. It was about creating lasting change, change that would impact generations to come. He would give them the tools, the resources, and the support they needed to flourish, and in doing so, he would ensure that the orphanage was a place of love, opportunity, and transformation for years to come. From that point on, Samuel was all in. He would not rest until the orphanage was a shining example of what could happen when kindness, generosity, and community come together. This wasn't just a donation. It was a commitment, a legacy. And it all started with a simple decision: to step in and help when it mattered most. The transformation of the orphanage was a monumental task, one that began with a single, powerful decision. A decision that would change the lives of the children living there and forever alter the future of the orphanage. This was not just about making a building look beautiful. It was about turning a place of despair into a home filled with love, care, and hope. The millionaire, once he had made the decision to help, knew that this would be a massive undertaking. It wasn't just about throwing money at the problem. It was about creating an environment where these children could not only survive but thrive. The first step in the transformation process was to address the most pressing issue: the physical condition of the orphanage. The building itself was crumbling, its once vibrant walls now chipped and weathered. The roof had leaks, and many of the windows were cracked or broken. It was clear that the structure itself needed a complete overhaul. The millionaire brought in a team of architects and engineers to assess the building. They quickly identified the areas that needed immediate attention: the roof, the foundation, the plumbing, and the electrical system. The goal was not just to fix the physical issues, but to make the space more livable, comfortable, and safe for the children. The decision was made to completely renovate the orphanage, starting with the most critical repairs. Workers were called in to tear down the damaged parts of the building and start fresh. But it wasn't just the physical structure that needed change, it was also the environment. The millionaire understood that a nurturing environment was just as crucial as the building itself. A space for children needed to be more than just functional. It needed to inspire joy, creativity, and a sense of belonging. The old orphanage had been a cold, sterile place. The walls were bare, the rooms dark, and there was little warmth in the atmosphere. The children had grown up in an environment that, while safe, lacked the comforts of home. The millionaire worked closely with interior designers to create spaces that were not only safe and functional but also bright, colorful, and inviting. Each room was designed with the children's needs in mind. Bedrooms were painted in cheerful colors, with comfortable beds and soft bedding. The communal areas were designed to be welcoming, with cozy furniture and ample space for activities. Playrooms were stocked with toys and games, creating an environment where the children could not only learn but play, laugh, and grow. A dedicated study area was set up with desks and learning materials, encouraging the children to focus on their education in a quiet, calm environment. A library nook, filled with books of all kinds, provided a place for the children to read, learn, and escape into the world of imagination. Renovations didn't just focus on the interior. The surrounding grounds were transformed as well. The once overgrown yard was cleared, and a beautiful garden was planted. Flower beds, trees, and bushes were arranged to create a peaceful, serene environment. A new playground was constructed, filled with swings, slides, and climbing structures. This became a place where the children could run and play freely, a place where they could forget their worries and simply enjoy the innocence of childhood. But this was no solo endeavor. The millionaire knew that a project of this magnitude required more than just financial backing. It required a community effort. As work began, he reached out to local businesses, contractors, and volunteers, all of whom were eager to contribute to the cause. Local construction companies offered their services at a reduced cost, while other businesses donated materials, furniture, and supplies. Volunteers from all walks of life came forward to lend a helping hand. Some worked on the construction site, while others helped paint walls, plant trees, or organize the children's new belongings. The sense of community was palpable. People from all over the town, Even those who had no direct connection to the orphanage came together to help in any way they could. One of the most powerful moments during the transformation process came when a group of local school children visited the orphanage to help with some of the painting. The sight of children helping children, young volunteers painting walls and adding murals while the orphans looked on with wide eyes, was a deeply emotional moment. It served as a reminder of the power of kindness and the importance of giving back to others. The children, both the volunteers and the orphans, bonded over their shared effort, a symbol of unity and hope for the future. As the renovations progressed, the millionaire took time to visit the orphanage regularly. He wasn't just a financier sitting behind a desk. He was hands-on, involved in the daily work. He would often bring food for the workers and volunteers, sit down with the children, and chat with the staff. His involvement wasn't just about overseeing the project. It was about connecting with the people who would be most affected by the changes. He listened to the children's stories, learned about their dreams, and made sure that their needs were being met, not just in terms of physical space, but emotional well-being as well. One of the most heartwarming moments occurred when the orphanage's new library was finally opened. The children were invited to pick out their own books, and the excitement in their faces was undeniable. For many of these children, books were a luxury they had never known, and the ability to read and learn in a comfortable space was a gift they would cherish for the rest of their lives. The millionaire watched with a sense of pride as the children eagerly browsed through the bookshelves, their faces lighting up as they found stories that sparked their imaginations. Throughout the entire transformation process, the millionaire remained committed to the idea that this wasn't just about improving the orphanage's physical appearance. It was about changing lives, creating a space where these children could feel valued, loved, and supported. The renovation wasn't just about fixing a building. It was about rebuilding hope, restoring dignity, and offering a brighter future. By the time the transformation was complete, the orphanage was no longer the dark, run-down place it once was. It had become a beautiful, vibrant haven, a place filled with love, laughter, and opportunity. The children now had a space where they could flourish, where they could heal from their pasts and build new futures. The millionaire's decision to step in had not only changed the physical space, but had touched the lives of everyone involved. The story of this transformation is a testament to the power of kindness, generosity, and community. It reminds us that when we come together, we can achieve great things. The orphanage was no longer just a place for children to survive. It was a place where they could thrive, a true testament to the impact one person can have when they choose to give back. The millionaire had not only transformed a building, they had transformed lives. The transformation of the orphanage didn't just change the walls, the floors, or the playground. It changed the lives of the children who lived there. For many of these children, the orphanage had been a place of despair, uncertainty, and fear. They woke up each day to the harsh reality of living in a building that seemed to reflect their own struggles, run down, forgotten, and in desperate need of attention. But as the orphanage was slowly renovated, these children were witness to something incredible: hope. The transformation was not just physical. It was deeply emotional. Before the renovation, the children's world was small, confined to rooms with peeling paint and broken furniture. The playground was nothing more than a patch of dirt, where they rarely felt safe to play. Many of these children had faced unimaginable hardships before coming to the orphanage, and for them, any semblance of joy or stability felt out of reach. Yet, as the changes began to unfold, something remarkable happened. The children started to feel seen. They began to believe that they deserved better, that they could dream of a future that was brighter than their past. It was a slow process, but with each improvement to their living space, their confidence grew. Take, for example, a young girl named Lily. When she first arrived at the orphanage, she was shy, withdrawn, and unsure of herself. Her previous life had been marked by instability, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being unwanted. But as the renovation of the orphanage progressed, Lily began to take notice. One day, she walked into the newly painted playroom and was struck by the bright colors and the colorful murals on the walls. She smiled for the first time in months. The new toys, the safe space, the opportunity to interact with other children. All of these things contributed to a change in Lily. Soon, she was running around the playground, her laughter filling the air. She had begun to see the world differently, and with the care she received from the staff and her peers, she found something she hadn't had in years, a sense of belonging. Lily's story wasn't unique. Each child at the orphanage was impacted in their own way. James, a quiet 10-year-old boy who had spent most of his time alone, found himself in the new library, reading books that opened up new worlds for him. The better facilities meant he had access to education, something he had longed for but never had before. He became more engaged, more active, and more hopeful about his future. For the first time, he saw a path that might lead him to something greater than his current situation. The changes weren't just physical. The emotional impact was just as profound. The staff, who had always worked tirelessly, now had the resources they needed to provide the children with a more enriching environment. They were able to spend more time with the children, offering them the emotional support they so desperately needed. The care and attention from the staff, combined with the physical improvements, gave the children a sense of stability they had never known before. But the transformation didn't stop there. The community, too, rallied behind the project, ensuring its continued success. Local businesses donated supplies, workers volunteered their time, and the wider community became part of the children's journey. This was not just the story of one person's generosity. It was the story of a community coming together to ensure that these children had a future to look forward to. The children, once isolated and neglected, now felt a sense of pride and ownership in their home. They helped maintain the gardens, participated in the improvement of their environment, and formed deeper bonds with one another. The transformation of the orphanage was a testament to the power of love, care, and the collective strength of a community. It proved that when people come together with a shared goal, they can create something far greater than the sum of their individual efforts. And for these children, it gave them the most precious gift of all, the chance to believe in themselves again. Even after the physical transformation of the orphanage, the Millionaire's involvement didn't end. In fact, it marked the beginning of a new chapter of sustained support for the children and the community. This wasn't just about one-time donations or a simple renovation. It was about ensuring that the orphanage could continue to thrive and provide for the children for years to come. The Millionaire understood that true change goes beyond what can be seen on the surface. It's about creating lasting impact, one that transforms lives in a deeper and more meaningful way. One of the first things the Millionaire focused on was the education of the children. Recognizing that knowledge is the key to empowerment, the Millionaire worked to ensure that the orphanage had access to high-quality educational resources. They helped secure partnerships with local schools, scholarships, and tutoring programs, which provided the children with the academic support they needed to succeed. The Millionaire also established a mentoring program where successful individuals from various fields, doctors, engineers, artists, would come to the orphanage to share their experiences and offer guidance to the children. This gave the kids role models they could look up to, instilling in them the belief that they, too, could one day achieve their dreams. Beyond academics, the Millionaire set up extracurricular programs that would help nurture the children's talents and interests. Music, art, sports, and even entrepreneurship programs were introduced. These initiatives allowed the children to express themselves creatively, build their confidence, and develop skills that would serve them throughout their lives. The Millionaire knew that providing opportunities for personal growth was just as important as providing education. It was about helping the children find their passions and discover their potential. The Millionaire also established a fund that would provide ongoing financial support for the orphanage, ensuring that it never fell back into neglect. This fund was dedicated to not just maintaining the physical space, but also to supporting the ongoing needs of the children. From healthcare to mental health services, from educational supplies to holiday programs, this fund ensured that the orphanage could continue to provide a stable, supportive environment for the children, regardless of the challenges the future might bring. Perhaps most importantly, the Millionaire continued to stay personally involved with the orphanage. They didn't just oversee the changes from a distance. They became a part of the children's lives. They would visit regularly, taking the time to sit with the children, hear their stories, and offer encouragement. The Millionaire's presence reinforced the idea that they weren't just a benefactor. They were a mentor and a friend. It wasn't about the money. It was about showing up, being there for the children, and making them feel valued and important. This ongoing involvement had a ripple effect. It inspired others in the community to get involved as well. Local businesses continued to support the orphanage, offering internships and job opportunities to older children. Volunteers from all walks of life continued to come and contribute their time, energy, and expertise. The orphanage became a beacon of hope, not just for the children living there, but for the entire community. The Millionaire's commitment to sustainable change went beyond the physical transformation. They understood that lasting impact comes from building systems, creating opportunities, and providing support that extends far into the future. It's about giving people the tools and the encouragement to build better lives for themselves, and ensuring that the community can continue to care for one another long after the initial support has been given. As the years went by, the orphanage continued to flourish, and the children who had once lived in neglect and despair went on to lead fulfilling lives, thanks to the Millionaire's unwavering commitment to giving them a future filled with opportunity, hope, and the belief that kindness truly has the power to transform the world. The story of the Millionaire's transformation of the orphanage is more than just about one person's generosity. It's a powerful reminder that kindness knows no boundaries. It isn't determined by wealth, status, or position. In fact, kindness is something everyone, regardless of their financial situation, can offer. Whether it's a kind word to someone in need, a simple gesture of compassion, or a commitment to helping a neighbor, we all have the power to make a difference in the lives of others. It's easy to think that change requires monumental resources, but the reality is that small acts of kindness can lead to monumental change. A smile can brighten someone's day. A helping hand can change a life. These small gestures accumulate over time, creating a ripple effect that has the potential to transform communities in profound ways. When you extend kindness to others, you're not just giving. You're also receiving the deep fulfillment that comes from making a positive impact. The story we've explored today is a testament to the idea that we all have the ability to help, no matter who we are or what we have. You don't need to be a millionaire to change someone's world. You just need a kind heart and the willingness to act. The Millionaire's actions inspired a community to rally behind a cause, and that sense of collective effort made the change even more meaningful. In the end, it's the people who come together, who help one another, that make the world a better place. So, as you reflect on this story, think about how you, too, can contribute to your community. It could be as simple as volunteering your time, supporting a local charity, or being there for someone who needs a listening ear. Every little action counts. Every small effort contributes to a bigger picture. The potential for positive change is endless when people come together with one common goal: to help one another. We've seen how the power of kindness can transform lives, create communities, and leave a lasting legacy. The Millionaire's story serves as a shining example, but the truth is, each of us has the ability to make a difference. I encourage you today to think about how you can help in your own community. Whether it's big or small, your contribution matters. Every act of kindness is a step toward creating a more compassionate and united world. Remember, kindness is the most valuable currency. It's something we can all give, and it's something that will always make the world richer. So, take a moment to reflect, to act, and to share kindness wherever you can. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with others. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories of kindness and community. Together, we can continue spreading positivity, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you for watching.